they needed new flight plans. So they were in the air trying to go back to Dubai and trying to get flight plans, trying to actually get into Dubai, trying to land. And nobody was answering. No one from their control would answer to get the flight plan. And that's when they realized, do we just depart? Do we try and land? What do we do? How do we get down there? So they started flying around and their fuel got low.
So everybody started declaring fuel emergencies. I need to land, I need to land, I need to land. Everyone's claiming Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Still not allowed to land. They're like, no, you're not allowed to land. And people are saying, we need to land immediately. We've declared Mayday. ATC responded, I don't know what to tell you. I'm very sorry. I don't have answers for you.
Welcome to the Aviation Mentors Podcast, the podcast that takes your dreams of flight and turns it into reality.
Sponsored by Strass Financial, financing your flight training.
For pilots, by pilots. I'm Brandon Martini, a commercial pilot and flight instructor.
And I'm Carson Vasquez, I'm a private pilot.
Whether you're a seasoned pilot or beginner with dreams of flight,
Aviation Mentors is your source for expert insights, industry trends, and inspiring stories.
So fasten your seatbelts and prepare for this incredible journey through the skies.
And stay connected with us on social media for exclusive content.
And visit our website at www.aviationmentors.com and let us be your co-pilot on this adventure.
Welcome back, everybody, to another awesome and, of course, amazing episode of the Aviation Mentors Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, of course, again. Guess what today is? Because Carson and I are wearing
green. It's a good day.
Yep.
We're wearing green.
It is St. Patrick's Day today in, I don't know, the U.S., the world?
I think it's the world. I'm pretty sure
it's the world.
At least Ireland and the U.S., I can tell you that.
Yeah, you guys will get to see us a few days later. But it is St. Patrick's Day for us, so we are celebrating.
I bought this just so Brandon could not pinch me. I knew he would try. I knew he'd look forward to it, and I wasn't ready for that.
Amanda's in the other room, and the building manager, Amanda's got no green on, by the way, and the building manager just walked in, and she was not wearing green either.
I feel like we can't go pinching the building manager.
Or Amanda. Neither.
Man.
I know. Unfortunate. So we are going to ask the leprechauns to do her something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just kids. I'm sure they'll get her.
Now, I'm going to be looking for pot of gold in the air today. But I'm not going to be flying, but I'm going to look in the sky, especially when all the hottest days.
Single rainbow or a cloud in the sky, so I don't think the odds are high.
That's lame. Look, that person's wearing green too.
Everyone is. I saw a bunch of people walking on the street. Everyone's wearing green.
Yeah.
Everyone's safe.
Even my son, Austin, he's wearing green this morning. You know what? Our camera is wearing green today.
Yeah, our camera stand is green.
It is green.
High school kids are brutal with it.
I know they are. Austin was very terrified about it. So, all right. Well, enough about St. Patrick's Day. And I want to talk about something that I saw yesterday on Facebook. I could not believe it. I saw this video, and I doom scroll, but I don't normally watch videos that are like 6 minutes long. And this one was about 6 minutes long or something.
You have a short attention span.
I do. They say that you have to.
Was that interesting?
It was that interesting. It was pretty crazy. As everyone knows by now, the U.S. and Israel are bombing Iran, and whether or not you stand for it or not, it's still having a crazy amount of disruption in the aviation industry, especially in the Middle East. And I didn't realize, because I'd never really looked at maps of the Middle East, and I didn't realize how close UAE is to Iran. It's literally across the water, like very close to them, and Dubai, very close to Iran. The fact that Iran is now bombing all of their neighbors as well, or sending drones, is pretty unreal. Well, the other day, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but we are going to post a link to the video in our show notes right below. But I do want to caution you, if you know that we try to make this a family-friendly show and we don't cuss on the show or anything like that. But this video has a lot of cussing in it, but it's a pretty impactful video. So if you're okay with that, then definitely check it out. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a good one to watch. Because it shows you how real it gets, and there's plenty of jokes to be made here for a lot of different things. Just it's war though, so that's
it's not great.
No, but it shows you the impact it has on civilians.
On civilians, big time. I mean, besides the bombings and everybody,
and besides the gas prices that we have now,
and the gas prices that are happening. I had to fill up my car today for the first time because I normally drive the Tesla, and yeah, they were like $5.60 this morning.
It was $80 for 12 gallons.
Yeah, I spent $70 for around the same. So the backstory on this, it's a 30-minute flight from Doha, which is a local place in the Middle East that goes over to Dubai, and they do turnaround trips all the time. And this ended up being the most stressful day in the 15 years this guy was a pilot. And I would tell you this, it would be a stressful day in my life too. And although they didn't explicitly say what type of aircraft they were flying, there's a lot of people that kind of interpolated. By the way, that is an aviation term. When I was a student pilot, I thought it was fake. Interpolation is a real word.
Oh, extrapolate.
Interpolate.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Interpret and extrapolate.
Yeah, put them on
Together.
vocab words.
Interpolate. You can check it. It's a real word. I digress.
ADHD is
So,
crazy.
undiagnosed, don't worry.
Pretty sure.
Yes. So Carson, tell us about what exactly happened, and let's talk about what we could have done or would have done if we were in their shoes.
Yeah. So the flight was just supposed to be a quick there and back, 30-minute flight. The crew landed in Doha, and they started reading the reports on the ground that Iranian airspace had been closed, which, there's plenty of departures from Europe and from all the other countries in the Middle East. And everyone had to start going around Iran. Yeah, if you've been on flight radar in the last couple weeks, you see this big gap in all the air traffic.
Yeah.
I think every pilot's gonna go look at it because it's interesting to us. But everyone's flying around Iran. And this dude was caught straight in the middle of it. And the pilot had to make a deliberate decision that, based on what they had read, they were going to add an extra 2.5 tons of fuel, about an extra 2 hours worth of fuel. So that's kind of where everyone's kind of guesstimating. And what's the word? Interpolating that it's a 737 because Fly Dubai mostly flies those. But he knew that Dubai was going to be chaos, and that's the biggest, closest airport. I think it's definitely the biggest in the Middle East.
Fairly certain it's the busiest in the world at this point.
Yeah, except for maybe Tel Aviv right now.
I don't know.
All the U.S. airplanes are taking off and landing in Tel Aviv.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know about
All
that.
besides the aircraft carriers.
But yeah, of course.
So the pilots made a deliberate, informed decision based on what they were reading about the airspace being closed and all the other traffic in the world pretty much converging in the closest airports that were able to fit their airplanes. And that being said, they knew Dubai was going to be chaos. So they brought an extra 2.5 tons of fuel, which would lead to about 2 extra hours of flight time.
It's crazy how much fuel airplanes can fit in them.
And how much they can just blow through.
Yeah.
2.5 tons of fuel in a Cessna, I would be able to make it around the world a couple times.
Probably.
But 2.5 tons of fuel, which led everyone to believe, again, it's a 737 because that's about the fuel burn. But extra fuel means extra weight, which means extra fuel burn, ironically. And
Sometimes.
they needed new flight plans. So they were in the air trying to go back to Dubai and trying to get flight plans, trying to actually get into Dubai, trying to land. And nobody was answering. No one from network, from their control would answer to get the flight plan. And that's when they realized, do we just depart? Do we try and land? What do we do? How do we get down there? So they started flying around, and their fuel got low. What's the minimum fuel time for IFR? Is it 45?
45 minutes.
45 minutes.
I don't know what it is for international. Could be different elsewhere.
Yeah.
But there was a big problem, right? They're flying around and ATC is not responding. So they decide they're going to divert. So they divert to like the closest airport that they can go to. And as soon as they get over there, guess what happens?
Their airspace closes.
That airspace closed. Well, not Dubai's airspace closed as of yet. But the other airport, its airspace closed because they said, hey, we're not going to take any more diversions because they were already stacking up, right?
Yeah, I mean, think about when you're flying into Oshkosh and you hear about all that.
Yeah.
And Oshkosh inevitably has some sort of crash or accident. Runways have to close. You should see on flight radar when it happens. Every other plane that's in the air diverts. I know it's in the flight or the briefing just to fly into Oshkosh and where you should divert to, and everything's there. But you should see it in action. Everything closes. And everyone's monitoring the radios and the air traffic. And as soon as they see someone landing at Oshkosh, everyone fires back up and takes off again.
Totally.
So it's the same situation here, just bigger planes, bigger scale, and internationally.
And I didn't
In a
mention
Warzone.
this part. After they departed, 10 minutes after they departed, it said all aircraft on this frequency land immediately. All aircraft must be on the ground within 10 minutes. If you are in a big airplane, how are you going to get on the ground in 10 minutes? It's just not going to happen, right? They're 30 minutes from the UAE border. They push to maximum speed, crossed into UAE airspace, directed into a holding pattern, held for about 20 minutes. Well, they're already past their 10 minutes, aren't they? Then UAE airspace closed completely. No airports are now available for landing.
But it wasn't just UAE airspace. Kuwait closed, Bahrain closed, Doha closed.
Um,
Left them with the only one who was still open at the time was Muscat. And
and that was in, I believe, Saudi Arabia. And when that happened, it would be an extra 300 miles, roughly 40 minutes of extra flight time, and they would have to circumnavigate UAE airspace. So they would have to go around the airspace, which is going to cost more time and money and pain and suffering. But they did the math, and they could make it, and they would still have minimums left. But if everybody else got there and they were, and
they
basically
were 40 minutes away.
yeah. So that means there's a bunch of other people that are going to show up there before them.
So they still started going there, and before they can get there, Muscat stopped taking diversions. All the traffic coming from all the Asia flights that had the same issue also had nowhere to go, which left them with only one or two little options: Eastern Saudi Arabia, which meant Dammam or Riyadh. And aside from all the cultural things of flying into Saudi Arabia, which I think a lot of people are just not prepared for, they again had to go around UAE airspace.
Yeah, and how were they going to get there with the amount of fuel they had? So they did the math again, and they could barely make it, right? So now they're trying to figure this out, and they said everybody on their frequency, because they're still in UAE airspace, right? Because that's where they were there. But if they left, they weren't going to come back. So everybody started declaring fuel emergencies, and everybody said,
Back to back.
Yeah, I need to land. I need to land. I need to land. Everyone's claiming Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Still not allowed to land. They're like, no, you're not allowed to land. And people are saying, we need to land immediately. We've declared Mayday. ATC responded, I don't know what to tell you. I'm very sorry. I don't have answers for you. Can you imagine hearing that?
In the one industry where, help isn't coming, typically never applies.
Yeah.
Help is always there. That's the whole point of ATC. I was just flying from Costa Rica, and they had a 30-minute shutdown where no one could be flying because ATC had to take their break.
Yeah.
And that's so help could always be there, no matter what the infrastructure has. So hearing help isn't coming from the one voice that's supposed to be the voice of reason and guidance, insane.
Here is the best part. And I started thinking when they said, well, no one's going to let you land. Well, everyone was thinking the same thing. If I land right now,
What are they going to do?
what are they going to do to me? Like, it's not take my license or whatever it is. That doesn't matter. It's, are they going to kill me? Because you're in a war zone at that point, right? So
Sudden war zone.
Sudden war zone. Yeah. While you were in the air, it turned into a war zone. So now, eventually, an ATC supervisor came on frigates with a quiet, extraordinary message. And it said, we've been instructed to not allow any aircraft to land. However, if you go against our instructions, you're not going to be shot down. Oh, guess what?
That is all I need to know.
That's all I
baby.
need to hear.
That is all I need to know.
I'm going to land on that baby right away.
I am landing on a freaking highway if I have to.
I mean,
I'm coming down.
It's kind of hard with the 737 or whatever their big airplane was they were flying.
It's mostly desert, right? What's the worst that can happen?
Death.
Well, it's not my problem at that point.
Yeah.
That would make me chill out. I would be like, okay, well, I'm not going to be shot down, at least in Dubai.
You know what time it is, Carson?
Time's up, Brandon.
It's time to talk about one of our favorite companies.
Which company would that be?
Aviation Mentors is excited to be sponsored by the one and only Stratus Financial, dedicated to supporting the next generation of future aviators.
Stratus Financial really understands the financial challenges that students face in pursuing their aviation dreams. That's why they offer student loans specifically tailored to aspiring pilots.
With competitive rates and flexible repayment plans, Stratus Financial helps take your aviation education to new heights.
So go visit their website today at www.stratus.finance. Just to be clear, that is not .com, it's .finance. And embark on your journey towards a sky full of possibilities.
Carson, it's time to get back to what we do best.
The show.
The show.
So there's so many lessons we could talk about from this perspective on this. And the reason why we gave you all this background on it, obviously that was kind of a lot, right? That was 10, 15 minutes of us talking about that. But there's so many things you would have done on this. And what would have you done? I think the pilot who told this story did everything right. And I think they would have been forced to go land somewhere when they shouldn't have been landing. And I think that would have been a lot of pilots. Although I'm guessing, because they didn't talk about the actual landings of all the airplanes, I'm guessing all the other pilots just turned like large airports into uncontrolled towers.
Yeah.
That's the only way they would have all been able to coordinate to land. They would have had to call out who they are, where they're at, where they're going.
I mean, ATC isn't allowed to help, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You know, they said you gotta do what you gotta do, but we can't help you do it.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. You know,
It
they
is.
obviously can't go against their own instructions. It's
I mean, it's a war.
a war. They can't let foreign planes land on their soil during a war, but wow.
Unbelievable. So what would have I had done, by the way? Because I was thinking about this. I was like, while I'm listening to this story, I would have said, declare an emergency and land. That's all I was thinking. But then I wasn't thinking, oh, wow, they're in a war zone. What happens if they shoot them down?
But also everyone else is also declaring an emergency. So how do you prioritize when you have 200 planes suddenly have an emergency?
I don't know if there were really 200, but like it could have been. Could have gotten
I
to
mean,
that.
in the region at least.
Yeah, in the region maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone has the same issue. Everyone has the same rules all at once of you can't land here.
Yeah, that's going to cause a problem. And I have a feeling most planes that were coming like from Asia or Europe or things like that, guess what? They didn't have the same amount of fuel reserves. They were probably going on fumes.
Yeah.
Maybe going into their fuel reserves.
Yeah, I mean, you're at 40 minutes here, which it's been pounded into you since day one of just VFR flying an hour.
Yeah.
An hour.
Always
Half
have
an hour is the real limit, the legal limit, but an hour. Have an extra hour. And then getting into 40 minutes of all reserves, you're getting into 40 minutes. That's enough time to descend and land.
I'll tell a quick story about fuel. I once did a flight. This was, I think, my first year I ever flew to Oshkosh in my 172. And I had all the camping supplies, and I had Austin, I had his mom with me, and we were
Also low stakes.
Yeah, low stakes. I was dealing with major density altitude issues. I was dealing with weight issues. I was just trying to keep aloft, like while I was flying, because the density altitude was so high. And literally, I'm like almost on the verge of stalling while flying forward, while descending. It was not a fun day to be flying. It was probably the most stressful time I've ever flown. And I was over New Mexico. And I landed at this place called Double Eagle Airport.
Oh, it's your favorite airport. That's right.
Yeah, my favorite airport. And I checked the fuel when I got there because my fuel gauges were pretty much saying empty on there. And I mean, it looked empty. So then I checked the fuel when I landed, and I had 30 minutes of reserve. I had
Holy
2
crap.
gallons on one side and I had 3 on another.
I've had 2 gallons on one side before, and that freaks me out. Flying a low wing, so
Oh.
it's a little different. But
Yeah.
I could
Well-
switch, and the other one had about 10. I just let it burn too long on one.
Yeah.
But seeing 2 and 3 on a Cessna,
When it burns around 8,
yeah,
that means I had around 40 minutes.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Yep. It was,
How many hours did you have?
70,
Okay.
80. So I was still in the realm where I'm like trying to do everything the
Yeah, you're
right.
still in the most dangerous pilot stage.
No, I think that is like one of the safest times to be a pilot.
You think so?
I think the dangerous pilot is the 1,000-hour pilot. That's the most dangerous person out there
Interesting.
because they think they know everything, they've done everything, and they've figured it out. Although a
Don't you
500-hour
have
pilot,
1,000
no, I have
hours?
over double that.
So, what lessons did you learn there? Because I mean, how much more fuel could you have taken?
I couldn't take one drop more. Not one drop.
And how did you get out of, was it Double Eagle?
Double Eagle.
Yeah.
I waited a couple hours till the sun started going down. It cooled down a little bit.
Density altitude.
Density altitude. And then I used like every bit of that runway. And then it took me like an hour and a half to climb like 5,000 feet circling. And then I went up and over the mountains, and then I was in Texas, and I was a lot happier because it was lower
I was
grounds.
happier in Texas.
Yeah.
but-
So, I mean,
So
it doesn't
fu-
matter about the
fuel's not
density
a joke
altitude.
yet.
It matters about the fuel. I did not feel very good about that. And I'll tell you this, if I had a bunch of passengers, like 100 or 300 or whatever it is, passengers behind me, knowing that I've got to keep them and their families safe as well, I would be freaking out.
And you can hear it in the voices on the video. A lot of people are freaking out.
Yeah.
You could tell those are the ones that are really at minimum fuel.
And I bet you that's exactly how they felt.
But I mean, I would still be freaking out with 3 or 4 hours of fuel. Because think about it.
You're like,
Everything's closed around you. Where the hell am I going to go?
yeah, there's nowhere to go.
Where am I going to go?
Yeah.
The whole region is closed.
Yeah. There's nowhere to go.
Wow.
Get ready to be Sully.
Seriously. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that didn't happen to anybody.
I'm surprised it didn't happen to anybody either.
Because pilots typically like to follow the rules.
Well,
Unless you're backcountry
either death.
or Brandon.
No, I follow
No,
the
you
rules all the
follow
time.
the rules really good.
It's either death or land and hope you don't get shot down. And I think that's what it ended up doing. So
Yeah, I mean, there's only one country really not landing in there. That's Iran.
I would not land in Iran. Yeah.
I would choose something else.
I would choose
I
the
would choose the
water.
river. Yeah.
I would choose the water. So this is a pretty crazy thing. So it just talks about like how things can change in the air. But I will tell you this, what I would have done no matter what, I would have just said declaring an emergency and I am landing. I would have just done that. I mean, what's better? Like taking the chance of being shot down, knowing that you're a passenger airplane. Nobody is going to want to do that, especially in a country like the UAE. That's
that is the one country that will not shoot down a passenger.
I don't think they're going to shoot down.
Confidently tell you that.
I will tell you, if they shot down a passenger airplane, going into there, all of their tourism money is gone.
Did you see what they've done? What just Dubai has done for their as far as like hospitality and keeping people safe?
No.
They the Ministry of Ministry of Tourism essentially said anyone that's stuck here while the airports were closed and no flights in or out, they paid for their hotel extension. They sent a message to every hotel and said we're paying for it. And then any planes that were leaving, once it got to the point that planes were able to leave, they were escorting them out.
No way.
It was incredible. I was like, for a country that claims to be so safe, they have their issues one way or another, but a country that claims to be so safe and progressive and everything in the Middle East, they're showing force for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a killer thing.
Yeah.
They're saying you can leave your wallet there and it'll still be there 3 hours later. That's how safe.
I don't know about all that. I haven't been to Dubai yet.
I haven't either.
My dad's been. He goes every quarter.
Yeah, I might. Well,
he was before.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go there anytime soon.
We were just talking about it, and last night at dinner, he said he would not go currently, just because everything that's going on. Yep. But he did agree that it was probably the cheapest time for you to travel to Dubai.
That's true. Maybe I would go. I don't know. I'm just hoping this doesn't change because I'm going to Germany next month and Switzerland. But no one ever hits Switzerland.
Switzerland's definitely fine.
Yeah.
Germany is probably fine.
Yeah, Germany's also probably fine. Well, I think that's kind of most of it. But for a student pilot, let's kind of talk about you real quick because we only have maybe 5 more minutes before we have to close this up. Do you have a plan B? Do you have a plan C on when things aren't going to go your way? Now, this was obviously a really crazy example, right?
And there was no lack of preparation involved. They had extra preparation. They chose to add an extra 2.5 tons of fuel to buy themselves extra flight time. Yeah, it probably could have gotten worse, and they probably would have made that same decision you said of just, I got to land sooner, and ignored instructions before they said, hey, you can kind of ignore instructions. But there was no lack of planning. Sometimes things just hit the fan and go the wrong way.
So if you are a student pilot, you need to have a plan A, obviously. That's what you want to do. You need to have a plan B, and you need to have a plan C. Always have a plan A, B, and C, okay?
Then have a plan Z. Just
Yeah,
get to
I
the
mean-
end, and worst case scenario, where am I landing?
Yeah, and that's why your head is always on a swivel. Where am I going to land
That's
today?
why CFIs point out and say, hey, where are you going to land? And you're usually over an airport when they say that, just FYI.
Yeah.
That's a good little tidbit.
Literally,
for
it's
you.
normally right
There is
below you.
typically straight over one.
So
But always have a plan Z. What road am I going to land on? What golf course is open? What am I going to do if everything goes wrong?
it's true. If you can have more fuel, it equals more options. That is a student pilot mantra that I've always used. And unless you have a weight and balance issue,
Take the most you can.
take as much as humanly
When you're
possible.
going through the desert, why not carry a case of water? Right.
Yeah. I mean, unless you can't take it because of the weight. So also, the last thing, the system won't save you. ATC wanted to help, but couldn't. PIC authority and sound pre-flight decision-making are your last line of defense, and it is your only line of defense. You must take PIC very, very responsibly. I mean, you are the pilot in command for a reason. Make sure that you know that you are the last line of defense. ATC will not save you. every single time. I will tell you, they will majority of times. I mean, if you get stuck in the clouds, they are absolutely awesome and professionals. They've saved my life twice before, and I've talked about it on the podcast. So the majority of the time it will happen. In the US, it'll probably always happen, right? Until it doesn't. I guarantee inside that area, it didn't for the first time, and that was then. The guy said he's been flying for 15 years. I don't know if that's 15 years general or 15 years in that area, but he's never seen something like that before. And I have never heard of something like that happen before. The closest thing I ever heard was ATC stopped responding to any flight following request, whether you're IFR or VFR request in an area, all because of either shortages on ATC or there were too many planes flying going into Oshkosh. Those are the only times I've ever heard ATC just not talk to anybody.
I mean, I wasn't a pilot. I actually wasn't around during 9/11, but I have a hard time imagining everyone didn't coordinate their efforts to get planes on the ground as fast as possible.
That was coordinated efforts, yes.
I mean, even then, in the most extreme example in our history, that hasn't happened.
It's true.
But, my dad's definitely pounded into me since I was a kid that help isn't coming. And at a time that help should be coming, in the one industry, again, that help is always there. That's what we pay for. And help isn't there. What are you going to do? So
That's true.
every pilot has a day that tests everything that they've trained for. And the goal isn't to avoid those days. It's just to make the right calls and be ready before they even start.
It's true. Well, thank you so much for listening today. We really appreciate it as always. Hopefully you get a lot out of this episode. It kind of talks about different scenarios. And obviously the FAA is really big into scenario-based training and scenario-based learning. This is a huge one for you today. And I'm hoping we have a lot of snippets too to post on social media so we can really kind of help educate pilots out of today. This was more of an Aviation Mentors episode, like a real mentor one. So
Good.
felt good. Yeah. So I'm really happy everybody joined us today. As always, if you'd like to reach out to us, you can reach us on our emails, brandon@aviationmentors.com, carson@aviationmentors.com, or producer@aviationmentors.com for our producer, Mark. We are going to be having a lot more guests on. We've been interviewing a whole bunch of them lately. You are going to absolutely be stunned with some of the awesome people that we're having on board soon. They are podcast guests from a lot of other podcasts, and a lot of them have a really, really cool aviation backgrounds, and I can't wait to introduce you to some of them. I mean, we just had the guy on the other day where he flew like all the Boeing classes, which was nice. I think you missed that one, unfortunately, huh?
You interviewed him without me?
I'm sorry.
Dude,
It's okay.
it's the last time it's a podcast.
I know you can't miss. Also, if you would like to reach out to either one of us, like I said on the emails, but it's better if you go on LinkedIn, just click add. You'll see the most handsome Brandon Martini on there. And of course,
And then he's the second one.
and Carson Vasquez, you'll see him too. Please don't forget to hit like, follow, subscribe, share, all the things you're supposed to do on social media. It's a huge part of helping us grow the aviation community and of course, grow the podcast so we can impact more pilots in the future.
Thank you everyone for listening today. And as we wrap up, remember, here to guide you in your aviation journey. So fly safe and enjoy the ride.
See you.